Sound test. Okay. So, hello everyone, and welcome to stream number 20. So today I'll be talking about the topic of corpus quality, but before that, let's go through the usual routine, which is not going to be too long because there is not too much happening at the moment on the dev side. Alright. Okay, so first of all, in terms of news, so there was no stream last week, but the week before, we released a new feature which allows to have multiple audio per sentences. And if you look in the wall, you'll see that there has been already several sentences where you can browse that have several sentences. So not over here, but CK had a post somewhere. Longer while ago. How'd you find it? Oh yeah, over here. So there was one example here, but this is not the only sentence. But yeah, this one has an example where there are several sentences, several audio for this sentence, and there will be more. Alright, so there was this big update on audio, and I mean, resulting from that, we had a new structure for audio, and I think that will allow to include some useful changes, like to perform some stuff from the UI that was more difficult to implement back then. But for now, I think development on audio in general will slow down a little bit, so all these new features will have to wait a little bit more. So that's the first thing for what was new. That was the big change 2 weeks ago. And yeah, now we're gonna have a look at what's coming next. So last week there was nothing really to deploy, so we kind of skipped a deployment. And this week there isn't anything that is completely ready to deploy, so we're also going to skip a deployment. But I think we have some content for next week, so let's go ahead and make a milestone for that. So the first thing is speeding up background jobs startup. So this is not something that is completely new, so it's not a new feature, but it's just making an existing feature much faster. Much faster. In some cases, yeah, basically there are some cases where as a user you might want to download things, and Tatoeba needs some processing in the background. But even if the task itself for the for the server, even if the task is very easy to do, Tatoeba will kind of make you wait up to 10 seconds before your data is being generated, because there is only a check every 10 seconds to execute a task. Like there is a kind of like a bot, you could say, that's checking, oh, do I have a job to do, do I have a task to do, and it checks every 10 seconds. And then if there's nothing to do, then the bot kind of goes back to sleep. And here is just a change where it makes it that you can wake up the bot as soon as there's a task to do, and so yeah, it doesn't have to be done on this regular schedule of every 10 seconds, but can be as soon as something needs to be done. So that I have tested on my side locally, and to be honest, everything looks pretty good. I didn't find any mistake. The only thing that maybe I will have to check a little bit more, and maybe some people could help checking if there is no big regression, but I feel like this is the kind of thing, honestly, that is easier to test just in production. Yeah, I don't think there will be any big issues there. I mean, at least when I was trying to test this, I could create sentences, edit sentences, add translations, the basic stuff. There was no major thing where I noticed that it was a problem. So yeah, so I think this one we can add it for the next milestone. There's just one minor thing where there is maybe one place where this the task isn't executed right away, but probably something forgotten. But besides of that, this one can go next. And the other one is just a language request. So we have a language request for a language called Patani Malay. Yeah, and that one will also be quick to do. But so I've already several times implemented language request on stream, so I'll just skip this one. I mean, I'll do it offline, is what I mean. Okay, so that's going to be yeah, our next milestone, which has just these two things, maybe one extra small thing, we'll see. And after that, yeah, finally, so the list of pull requests is getting smaller and smaller, and I think I can finally start focusing on the Tatoeba new design. So I think either the next stream or the stream after that, I'll just have a coding stream where I'll be doing stuff related to this new design. So okay, that was for just the Tatoeba news basically. Not much coding today, and I think it's going to be also a short stream. I don't know if there's anybody viewing live right now, maybe one person. Oh yeah, maybe I should, just in case. So I'm going to open the chat. So for those who don't use Google accounts and then cannot write in the YouTube chat, you could also write in this chat over here. So I'll have to find a way one day to make this looks a bit better, but I think right now I can just use this other half of the video to display chats in case people have questions. Yeah, probably not the best setup, but I think that still works. So yeah, this is chat from a while ago. Oh, hello, Lime Green. Yeah, I think you're the only one here. I mean, I guess you can see the number of viewers. Well, there are 2 viewers, but I'm assuming one of them is myself. And the other one is you. And just try to adjust the size of this thing so that it looks kind of okay. Yeah, I guess that looks kind of okay. All right, that will do. So yeah, in case also there was once where somebody tried to put links in the chat. So in case somebody wants to send links or something and that doesn't work in this chat, you can just go to chat.tatoeba.org. And in there is no restriction of what you can post. I don't know, maybe there's a way to for me to allow that people can post kind of everything, but I don't know where to set that up, and I don't think it's really useful to search that for now. So let's dive into the topic of quality. So yeah, quality, this is a pretty old topic. I mean, obviously, because Tatoeba is a collaborative project. So the fact that it's a collaborative project and that it is it's open to pretty much anyone to contribute, it brings this issue that since there are people of all kinds of level who can add sentences and translate sentences, there's more likely, this is not people who are trained in literature and translations. So it's obviously more likely that some people, that we, as we collect those sentences, we'll see more mistakes. We'll see people make typos, create sentences that don't sound very natural, because some people might not, contribute in their native language when they start adding sentences to Tatoeba. They might translate incorrectly, because translations can be difficult. And overall, the fact that it's a collaborative project can make the content, I guess it's a bit of a disadvantage that we have to care more. We have more likeliness to have this kind of bad quality content. So once in a while you might see people argue over quality on Tatoeba, and at this moment not so much. I think we've had a break from this topic for a while, but there's related topics around quality that come up once in a while, so I figured I'd just take like a little bit of time to talk about it. So quality. Why is bad quality a problem? It's a problem for obvious reasons. That we should care to make the corpus as good quality as possible. So first reason that we will often hear is that quality drives people away. I don't think that's the case for Tatoeba. I don't think there's been a whole lot of people who saw bad sentences in Tatoeba and were just like scared away. But nonetheless, I think it did happen. We've had people. I didn't see it happen with my own eyes, but I've seen people write that for themselves, actually, when they see that when they see that there are sentences in Tatoeba that are of bad quality, they feel less inclined to contribute. But besides of that, the quality itself, if you have 90% of the sentences in Tatoeba that have mistakes and 90% translations that are completely wrong, it's going to be unusable, right? You can't use Tatoeba. So obviously we have to maintain some level of quality. And then there's this other aspect where people, like, if everything is incorrect, then it doesn't look like a serious project. So that's also the part where it drives people away. It's not usable, and it's not very attractive for other people to want to join the project, because on the other spectrum, if we can achieve a higher level of quality, the higher we can achieve, and it's like, it's more prestige and more people want to be associated to the project, so more people would want to be part of it. And then there's just the fact that it's just annoying in general. Like when you see something that has a mistake, it feels dirty. It feels like you're making the corpus dirty. So it's just human nature. We like when things are clean and in order, and so having mistakes and such, it's just annoying. So all these reasons, we try our best to, improve the quality of the corpus. So now that's the obvious part of quality. The less obvious part is that even though I think everyone who contributes to Tatoeba is really trying their best, like to provide something that is useful, to provide like good quality content, but then where like we can start to see a divergence of opinions is what does it really means to have good quality? And this is where like people just have different opinions, or maybe different perspective on it. But I just want to share my own perspective on this, at least for all the years that I've observed this project. And one thing I can say is that I think there are actually several layers of quality. So we'll go through them one by one. So the first obvious layer would be the sentence layer, the quality of the sentences. So that means if you take a sentence in Tatoeba on its own, like without a translation, just you look at the sentence itself, is it a correct sentence or not? So, are there any typos? Are there any grammatical mistakes? Is good conjugation being used there, etc.? So that's the quality on sentence level. And and ensuring the quality of the Tatoeba corpus on sentence level basically just means that you want to make sure that every sentence, if you take them on their own, they are correct, they sound natural. And now it gets a little bit tricky in some cases, because obviously language is not like completely fixed. Language evolves, language is very fluid. And the notion of what is correct can be sometimes arguable. So this is where I guess you'll get to see heated discussions about whether or not a sentence should remain in Tatoeba. But yeah, that's the first layer. The second layer would be the translations layer. So that's also an obvious one, because Tatoeba is not just like a list of sentences, it's like it has sentences and translations. And so quality on the translations layer means that if you take a certain sentence and its translations, the translations is correct. And I mean, here as well, you'll have disagreements, because some people are more strict in the way they translate, and some people are more liberal. So how far of freedom can you have when you translate? Like, how much freedom can you take to step away from the from the wording that was used in the initial translation to in the original sentence? Like, how much freedom can you take in the rewording of it when you translate? I think it can also be a source of debate. But those two things are, I think, what most people think of when they think of sentence quality. But then there's some other aspects of quality that I think people don't necessarily think of like instinctively when they contribute to the corpus. So because there's how to explain it, there's like quality more on a corpus level. So I would say this, if we look like, I guess let's use nutrition as an analogy, right? Like when you look at quality on sentence and translations level, it's more like you're looking at it on a molecular and atomic level kind of thing. But it's like looking at the building blocks of the corpus, but not looking at the corpus on as a whole. And the corpus as a whole, you could also sense that there is a quality attribute to it. And if we look at something like nutrition, if you look at what is a good and healthy diet, you can have like ingredients that are healthy, but combining them in a certain way might not become a healthy diet. And at least in my world, so a healthy diet would be like a diverse and balanced diet, right? Meaning that you want a large variety of foods, and you want that the content is balanced. Like, so large variety of food, meaning, if you think that your diet is just eating apples and only apples every day. So apples are healthy, but if this is the only thing you eat, if that's your diet, I don't think a lot of people would call that healthy, right? Because you need different kinds of food. And again, like, if you also eat different kinds of food, but 90% of your food is apples, that might not also be very healthy. I mean, I guess it might depend on your biology. Maybe some people might survive healthily on a diet with 90% apples, but most of the time you kind of need a certain balance. And there's the same thing for the corpus, right? The corpus needs a variety of sentences, so variety of vocabulary, grammatic, like it needs to illustrate all kinds of properties of a language, and this the amount, I mean, it has to be balanced somehow. So if you think of if you think you have a corpus of 1,000 sentences, and these 1,000 sentences, it's just like I am, and then some adjective, like I am happy, I am sad, I am tired, I am sleepy, I'm excited, and like 1,000 times just I am and some adjective. So this, like, all of this sentence would be 100% correct, but you can feel that it's not very diverse. And like, if I give you a corpus of 1,000 sentence that looks like that, with I am 1,000 times with just a different adjective, and I give you another corpus where it's like, all kinds of sentences, like with verbs, with like short sentences, long sentences, with vocabulary that is, kind of day-to-day vocabulary, but some also maybe some specialized vocabulary and some slang and stuff like that. So you can feel that the second corpus that is more diverse is like, there is a better quality to it. And then the balance part means you could have a corpus where, sure, there's like all kinds of vocabulary, but then if, like, it's still, you have 900 sentences which have I am and some adjectives, and then only the 100 other sentences are illustrating all kinds of other things, then it's diverse. So because you have like you have more diversity, but it's still kind of unbalanced. So there is these two dimensions that you have to take into account when we think about the quality of the corpus. So Lime Green says, the hard part is when a language like Italian has multiple words for the you and for the, and you want to show it off, but the English translations sound repetitive for always having the. Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit of repetition is not necessarily bad, but I think we've seen in Tatoeba points some cases where like redundancy has gone maybe a little bit too far for some people's taste. I don't know Italian very well enough to really understand, like, if you have an example of a sentence in Tatoeba where, that illustrates this hard part that you're talking about, feel free to mention it in the chat. But obviously, that doesn't mean, so there will be several ways to translate sentences, and as a result, sometimes translating one sentence can result in making a little bit of duplication. I don't think this amount of duplication would be really harmful, but there has been other instances where there has been an incredible amount of repetition that people felt it was a bit too far. So yeah, coming from that, this is like this kind of concrete examples where, I mean, I could probably, I don't have the links right now, but I know that there has been sentences where it was about the same pattern and just the country or the city changing, and it was like 100 or more, more than 100 sentences with this same pattern, just with having a country changing. And there has been sentence where I can't remember the pattern, but yeah, it was just a basic pattern with some a noun, the pronoun, the verb, and then some other, maybe just a name changing or something like that. I can't remember. But there's been several examples of Tatoeba, in Tatoeba, where people added a large amount of sentences with the same pattern 100 of time and just one thing changing. And when you see that, you do feel that there is something a little bit uncomfortable about that, that makes you feel it's not so great. And so that's why I think when we build this corpus, this Tatoeba corpus, there is more than just looking at whether the sentences themselves are correct or not. There is also this dimension of needing the diversity and the balance of the sentences. And I think it's, at the end of the day, it really boils down to quality at the corpus level. It really boils down to what is it that we actually want from this corpus, right? Because if the if we wanted a corpus with like only sentences that follow the pattern I am plus adjective, if that was the rule that we set up since the start, if that's what we wanted, then if you add a sentence like I'm eating an apple, then it doesn't fit the pattern, and having that one sentence would be bad quality. So it depends what we want from the corpus. The thing is, like, many people want different things. So yeah, for me, I feel like, I mean, obviously what we want from the corpus is not something I would decide myself. I think it's something like as a collective entity, like a group of people collaboratively working on this. I think everyone gets to kind of decide what they want from the corpus, and I think we can kind of have a general opinion, something that is generic, that of what we want from it. And I think generally, so yeah, we want sentences that are correct and translations that are correct, but it's not just that. We also want like to cover all the linguistic properties of a language. And so that's where we need diversity, because we don't want just textbook sentences, or we don't just want sentences that are made for kids who learn languages in school. We really want all kinds of vocabulary for all kinds of skill levels of the language, so not just for beginners, but also for people who are more advanced. So that's the diversity part. And we also want, I think, that if somebody would browse the corpus at random, so they just, randomly read sentences, that they get to see a diverse range of linguistic information. And I think that's maybe the part that is a little bit more difficult to feel for some people, that there is this, and that's the balance part, actually. Like, again, if you had like 900 sentences, like if we go back to my example where you have like 900 sentences with the pattern I am plus adjective, and then 100 sentences with other linguistic structures, like the chances, if you would just randomly look at 10 sentences in it, probably but statistically you have like, you'll find 9 sentences with I am plus adjective, and then 1 sentence with some other structure. And so your experience in like exploring the corpus would not feel exactly very diverse. So yeah, so we want diversity, but we also want that this diversity can be experienced in a random exploration of the corpus. And so for that we need to balance, kind of try to balance the amount of like how we spread the examples, the sentence examples, so that it's not too much sentences focusing on this one, on these few patterns, simple patterns, and having a bit more of everything, so that people get the chance to discover languages if they would just randomly, like to discover more of a language if they would randomly browse the corpus. So yeah, that's one level I think that doesn't come intuitively when we think of quality, but I think that's still an important aspect of quality. And the last level that I can think of is the quality of what I would call the metadata. So because Tatoeba is not just like a collection of sentences and translations, there's actually a little bit more than that. So we have, more specifically, we have tags. So that's probably the most obvious things. But we have ratings. We have, I guess comments could also count, and we have reviews, like ratings on the sentences. We have all kinds of data around the sentences and the translations. And if you take this metadata into the equation, then it can change a little bit what quality really means, especially when it comes to what I mean is, good quality isn't anymore about just having, strictly speaking, correct sentences and translations. It's more about having accurate information, meaning that if you have an incorrect sentence or an incorrect translation, but it's clearly labeled as incorrect, then you would still have overall good quality data because the information is accurate, right? And so this is something that first of all, I don't think Tatoeba is ready for this level of quality that I'm talking about. But if you think about it, like having sentences that are incorrect, that can still teach us something about a language. I mean, especially if there are common mistakes, right? If I'm trying to craft a sentence in a foreign language, and I want to check, is this correct or not? I want to have some indication, some indicator, some confirmation, is it correct or not? But I can't, like, I don't have let's say I don't have a native speaker I can ask, and I search Tatoeba. So I would search for a certain pattern, but if I don't find that pattern in Tatoeba, the pattern that I'm using to craft my sentence, does it mean that this pattern is incorrect? Not necessarily, right? Because Tatoeba doesn't have like all the information, all the linguistic information in the world. So if I don't find something in Tatoeba, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's incorrect. But if I'm searching for this pattern and I find it, and there is something saying this is incorrect, then I know it's incorrect. And so that's actually valuable information, right? So yeah, but again, I think Tatoeba wouldn't really be ready. So yeah, it's not about like, yeah, let's start adding lots of incorrect sentences in Tatoeba and just put a tag incorrect, because I think we would need to change a little bit more Tatoeba to be able to support like this kind of information, so to actually integrate incorrect sentences and label them as incorrect. Like we need to change more things around Tatoeba so that people, when they use Tatoeba, they understand more what it means when they find stuff in the search results, and yeah, we will need the whole workflow, and we need to change a few things that I can't think of it right now on the top of my head. I didn't sit down and think about it, but I just know that if today somebody tries to flood the corpus with like thousands and thousands of incorrect sentences and just adds the tag incorrect or put a comment, this sentence is incorrect, that would not make people happy. But I'm pretty sure that there is a way we can change Tatoeba so that we can host this kind of content, label them accordingly, label them accurately, and it would be actually it would make Tatoeba a more powerful tool, in my opinion. Okay, so yeah, that was basically, so that was just more food for thoughts about quality, and I hope that was interesting. But there was some thoughts that I had about quality that I wanted to share, and quality is actually, so my next priority in the couple of months, or maybe till the end of the year, we'll see how that goes. But I think I will be more focused on the Tatoeba UI. But quality is like a topic that I think is really, really interesting, and that I would really, really like to find time to dedicate on. Maybe this year I can find a bit of time for that, to try to improve stuff in there, but for, for the workflow. To stuff about having a better workflow, and to work towards this idea that having incorrect sentences in Tatoeba is not necessarily a bad thing if we can present it in a way that is clearly understandable. But yeah, I think until then I still want to mention a few well, or at least one initiative actually, because if you follow a little bit what's happening on GitHub, you might see that there's been a recent comment by LBDX. So let's go back to GitHub. I'll use this tab here. Alright, so if we go back a little bit over here, let me just have to find again where I can see recent topics. Yeah, here, this one. So this is about, I guess, this topic of diversity and balance of the corpus that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, there is currently, I mean, this is a long thread now, but there is LBDX who seems to have made some progress about trying to make clusters out of sentences that are very similar to each other, so that I mean, one of the applications of this would be if you search a sentence, instead of being presented the full list of, I am happy, she is happy, he is happy, like it could, combine them together, and you would just see one of the sentences instead of all of them, and it would make the search results feel more relevant and interesting. So there is stuff like this happening. So that's one thing I can think of on the top of my head of what's happening that can push forward for. Well, in this case, it's not really about the quality of the corpus itself. It's more about having tools to maybe extract better quality subset of corpus. I guess you could see it like that. I think there was also like some other also again on the diversity aspect, there was some thread about, oh, maybe this is the same here, about the the novelty score, originality score. Yeah, I think this is part of it as well. So yeah, the possibility to cluster sentences, that are very similar, the possibility to apply a score, and maybe people seeing what kind of score, originality score, the contributions that they may have, seeing this score maybe makes people change a little bit their strategy in what kind of sentences they add to Tatoeba. So yeah, that's some of the things, but there's many other things we could do to improve the quality in Tatoeba. That's that we haven't done, because to be fair, I guess it has been working for us so far. The whatever mechanism we have, I think just having comments, people being able to comment on each other's sentences, I think that has played a big role. And the community in general, trying to educate new contributors into what is good content for us. So that helps, but there's a lot of things we can do that would make the whole system more efficient. But yeah, so that was basically it. That was just, I wanted to just address a little bit this topic because I think it's a very interesting topic, and I think I get some time soon, in the next few years, a bit of time finally to be able to focus on it. It's really a topic I've wanted to dive into for a while, but we're gonna do this one step at a time. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it. It's gonna be a short stream today. So yeah, Lime Green, thanks for joining the stream, and I hope that was interesting for anyone watching this now or afterwards. And yeah, that's it. So see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.